This is Gadget Stop 321. In today's video, I'm taking a look at my two favorite pocket pens, the Kaweco Skyline Sport and Lilliput. The Skyline Sport was the first fountain pen that I ever bought for myself, and I picked this up. What drew me to it was that it was so different from every other fountain pen that I'd used. I'd only used like your classic normal looking pens that had a clip on them and whatnot. And this really jumped out at me. I won't say that I thought it was an attractive pen. It's not even, to me, it's not even really cute. It's just so functional. And when this came in, I knew it was a small pocket pen, but I was surprised at how small it actually was. Everybody knows how small the Lilliput is, but the Skyline Sport and the Classic Sport and the Ice Sport, they're all just different styles of the same model. They're pretty close to the same size as the Lilliput. They're not much bigger. They're a little bit wider, just, a fraction of an inch longer. So these are both really small fountain pens. And one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised about this pen was when you post it, how comfortable it actually was. You're not really sacrificing the full pen experience when you get a pocket pen like this Skyline Sport. Now, I'm a big fan of the concave hourglass shape sections, but since the nib on this pen is so small, it's not real comfortable for me to hold it on the actual section. I hold it on the threads. To me, the threads are not uncomfortable at all, and they keep my fingers from sliding up and down the pen. Now, this pen isn't very slippery. It's a glossy plastic, but it's kind of a grippy plastic. But the threads do give you just an extra little bit of grip there, and that's nice. This is just a pleasant pen to use. I got this pen to write in a little pocket notebook that I had, but the main use that I have for it now is grading. I'm a teacher, and I like to take this to school to use for grading. And typically when I'm at my desk, I'll uncap it, and I have small hands. This may not work for everybody, but I can use it unposted. I'll grade if I need to mark something on the paper, and then just slide it in the cap and hold it till I need it again, and use it, slide it in the cap. And I'm just a big fan of this little pocket pen. Now, the Lilliput was my first Grail pen. This is the least expensive version. It's the black aluminum. It runs between $50 and $60. And in my early days of fountain pens, I thought I'll never pay that much for a pen, but it didn't take long before I had one of these. Now, my use for the Lilliput's a little bit different than the Skyline Sport. It takes several turns to uncap it. Then it screws on the back to post. So you're not going to want to be doing that off and on. So for jotting little short notes, the Skyline Sport I think is better for something like that. I prefer to use this pen for journaling. When I journal, it usually takes me 10 or 15 minutes to make a little entry in my journal. So it's not a super lengthy bit of writing, but I'm not taking the cap on and off. This again has the concave section. Now this one is a little bit more narrow than the one on the Skyline Sport. So even if this had a bigger nib, this is a pretty narrow. That's maybe, it's about the size of a pencil, maybe more narrow than that when you take into account that it caves in. But again, small nib, I'm not going to be holding it down there at the section. I hold it on the threads again, and again the threads are fairly comfortable. But this glossy or shiny aluminum to me is pretty slippery. I have dry hands and I run into problems with my hand wanting to slide around. But when I hold it on the threads, that gives me a good amount of grip and I don't have any problem with my fingers sliding around. This is just one of my favorite pens to use for journaling. Now, what makes these two pens my favorite pocket pen is that they both cap securely, they're small, and they're made out of durable materials. Now this one, it's a solid aluminum, but I probably wouldn't put it in a pocket with keys or change just because that finish could scratch off. But if that's something you don't mind, I know you can get Kaweco aluminum sports that are pre-distressed and they look pretty cool. So, you know, if that's not something that would bother you, you wouldn't have to worry about it. I know on the threads, I don't know if you will be able to see it, but there's just a tiny little section where the black finish is scratched off. So I'm curious to see over time how well the black on the threads hold up on the front and the back. But as far as, you know, not having to worry about the pen snapping in your pocket, that's not an issue. That's a good durable pen. Now this one, I don't mind throwing it in a pocket that has keys or other things in it. It's plastic. It will scratch a little bit, but it's not something that's going to be super noticeable like it would on this aluminum pen. This is just a good, it's not a fragile plastic. So this makes a great pen to put in your pocket. Now, like I said, I use this one for grading. I like to use this one for journaling. So I'm going to put Iroshizuku Momiji in this one. And I'm going to have, since I'm inking up a previously used cartridge, I'm going to have to use an ink syringe. And in the Lilliput, I'm going to use Diamine Oxford Blue cartridge. Okay, so let's do this one first. Now both of these are extra fine, and I like really fine nibs. But if I had it to do over, these have interchangeable nibs. I would have gotten maybe extra fine and a medium, or extra fine and a stub nib. Just a little variation. But I can't say that I'm disappointed that I got two extra fines, because like today, I want them both to have extra fine nibs for what I'm using them for, and I can use them both at the same time. Okay. Momiji has replaced Yamabudo as my favorite ink for using at school for grading. It's similar to your traditional, you know, teacher red ink pen, but there's just a little something different about it. I really like it. Let's see if we can... It's not just straight red. Maybe has a little pinkish orange to it. I don't know. I like it. Yeah, I'm putting it in the right one. Okay. What am I doing? Let the ink start running down into the nib. Some people prefer, what am I thinking of? not cartridge converter, but I guess piston fillers. I like the cartridge converter pins, and I like refilling cartridges. They're really easy to clean out, especially if you have a ink syringe, and filling your pins easy. Just pop the cartridge in. If you have pre-filled cartridges, they're good to use on the go. Okay, let me see if I can speed this up a little bit. Now, with all these lids rolling around, neither one of these pins have a clip on them, you may notice. You can buy a clip, a separate clip for the Skyline Sport, and I think even now they even make a clip for the Lilliputs. I've never used a clip because, well, oh, there we go. I like to use these as pocket pins, so I've never bought a clip. And I think that the clip tends to scratch the this plastic up. But if you're going to put a clip on it and leave the clip on it, then that's not an issue. We may have to let this one sit a little bit while I do the writing sample for the Lilliput. Oh, there we go. All right, there's the Momiji. Okay, I'm going to do a real quick writing sample, hopefully quick. All right. This is the... Now there was a little bit of a hard start there, and I've noticed that on both of these pens. The very first letter, when I start a new writing session, I tend to have a little hard start there. I've heard that they're using a new source for the pen, for the nibs on these, and that maybe that's not as much of an issue. But I'm not sure. This is the extra fine. It's really smooth, and you may hear some scratching on the paper, but that's just friction between the nib and the paper. It's really smooth. This is, the ink I'm using is Iroshizuku Momiji. I think I spelled that right. And see, no more issues with the hard start that I had up here on the K. This is a stainless steel nib. It's pretty hard. I'm not even going to try to get any line variation out of it. That's just not something I do. I use my pens for note taking, and that's it. It's not a dry nib. But it's not a wet nib either. It's just a good average nib. Just very fond of it. It's a good pen. And so next, I'm going to tear this off, and I guess I can do this on the same page. We'll see if this one hard starts. No. And this is Diamond Oxford Blue. Love these deep, rich blues for journaling. These are great for writing in Hobonichis because the nib's so fine. The nibs are, ooh, see how dry that is? But it doesn't feel dry when you're writing. So I'm a fan of both of these pens. Great for just all around writing, note-taking. Comfortable to use considering how small they are. Just very cleverly designed. Now, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.